Does that make sense, Rhonda?
Yes.
Yes, you don't seem very, what, do you have more questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
You said something that was really interesting here, and I maybe I just didn't understand what you were saying, but you talked about as we look at the character in the script.
Right.
And then as we build our character, we look at the similarities and dissimilarities.
Yes.
Are you looking at that from a conscious or a subconscious perspective, number one?
Yeah, go ahead.
And then number two, what's the true relevance of that in terms of building that character?
Okay, the relevance is that when you're, I'm going to answer the first part. I think it has to be a conscious choice. I think all of your work in acting it starts with your thoughts. So it has to be a conscious realization of what's going on here. You know, sometimes I'll hand you a script, I'll send you a script and you pick it up. I know this guy, man, I can do this guy in my sleep because this is who I am, and that's a given, and it's easy. You know how you know how they negotiate life. You know, their characterizations, how they walk, how they talk, how they sit, what they eat. You know what color the room is. You know all that because it's you. And then on occasion you get those characters that aren't, and you may not even consciously think it, but I think that you should force yourself to. It's like, okay, why isn't this setting right with me? What am I having a problem with? Oh, the guy's a pedophile, and I don't know any. I'm not that way. I don't have any of those leanings. This is a complete mystery to me. So you identify what's different, and then you have to go in there and figure out. Well, first of all, if there are any similarities, you know, acknowledge those. And then figure out, okay, yes, in my life I maybe manipulate people to do something, and this is what that manipulation looks like. However, I don't do this in my real life, and I would never, you know, consciously do that. And if I did have a situation, I would probably sit down and have a nice, normal conversation. So you said we were going to party, but I'm not seeing a party here. There's no party. She doesn't have the emotional or mental faculties to be able to negotiate her life in that sort of way. So we have to think about, okay, where did they come from? This goes to prior circumstances. You know, where do these women, you know, fester? You know, that would cause them to live the lives that they have. It isn't that they even have choices. I mean, I think it's really. I get so irritated when I hear people say, "Well, you know, everyone has choices." That's just such fucking bullshit. You know, because if you grow up in a family that is uneducated, you're not exposed to things, you have no money, you're in poverty, you don't fucking even know what a fucking choice is. You know, you're just dealing, and also, you know, who knows what Maslow's hierarchy of needs. It's quite fascinating because, you know, if you're stuck on the bottom just trying to survive, you're not going to think about anything like creativity, art, spirituality. Those are elusive dreams. You've got to fucking survive. And that's these women. They are stuck down here, and that's all they can think of. And they don't have a luxury of anything other than that. Survival is enormous. And so it's important to know those prior circumstances, because that way, at least consciously, you can commit to knowing that, okay, these people, this is not me. I would never be in this circumstance. I would never, you know, I would never be a serial killer. I'd never be a prostitute. I would never, you know, those things are just so far removed from, you know, Amber's life. You know, how in the world does she come in here and make this believable? Somehow she has to figure out, you know, what is truthful for her, you know, that she can bring to fuel the scene, which would be, and those are your inner objects and your scene objective and your substitution, but negotiate it in a way that a woman with this background would do it. So she has to handle the negotiation like this character and not like Amber.
So basically you're saying embrace the dissimilarity.
Yes.
And then find a way to incorporate that into who you are.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can I say something?
Yes.
What made me so emotional was that I saw the picture of her as a little child, and she looks like my daughter. I mean, she looks normal. She looks happy. She has a light in her. And then I started thinking, kind of creeped me out. I started thinking of, what am I so desperate for? Right now, I'm going through a really shitty time. I'm desperate for money.
Yeah.
I know what that feels like.
Yeah.
And I started thinking, you know, I just started thinking, like, man, you know, and it was just,
And I'm glad you said it's the human element. It's a human, and so you found what was similar, what you could attach yourself to. And then I do think, Terry, it does become sort of an unconscious thing. And that's why when I say, make your choices, but then you got to let them go. You just have to sort of trust that your unconscious mind will tell your body, will tell your voice what to do. That somehow, maybe it's on an archetypal, collective unconscious level, you'll be able to plug into that and know how to handle it. And almost like channel this person.
And because I didn't commit, because
Yeah.
I was afraid of it.
Oh, it's terrifying. It is absolutely terrifying. Yeah. So does that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Thanks for asking. I think everyone learned from that. Okay, so yeah, and also, it's just the psychology. I think as we do go through life, and we all learn, hopefully, along the way, and we get older, and we realize that we're responsible for our happiness. It isn't anybody else's problem. You can't put that on them. But these two women, they don't know anything other than grasping, just fix, yeah. And yeah, so they're not us. Thank God. That would be hard. Okay. All right. Any questions, Ron K?
I have a question.
All right.
So in this scene, you said it's supposed to be, turn up the heat and it stays up. So after she tells me that she killed somebody, it's still supposed to be up?
Yeah. And the reason is because I don't think that emotionally you can bring it down. I mean, when someone says I killed somebody, it's like it's going to escalate, but you still need to use that energy to let her know it's going to be okay. It's going to take care. I'm going to take care of it. I'm going to get a job. So that the energy will still be there, but your beats and actions are going to change a little bit. In that you're going to take on a more responsible role, at least feigning like how that you might be able to fix it somehow. Only because you do care about her, and she just told you something that is very, very upsetting.
Okay.
All right? So, this is going to be fun. Not fun, okay.